Good morning, all. We want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to join this webinar on the benefits of pre-planning funeral arrangements. Just a couple of housekeeping items as we begin. If you tap your screen, somewhere on your screen, you're going to have a widget that is labeled Q&A. You'll also have a widget that says chat. If you wish to send us a question that you would like answered, please feel free to type into one of those areas your question, and we will make sure at the end of the presentation that we answer all questions. At the end of the seminar, Jamie will share information on how to sign up for the free gift for those that stay through the presentation, as well as how to set up a one-on-one meeting with Jamie and learn about your personal specific wishes. At this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Jamie Aller as she walks us through the simple steps to advanced planning. Jamie?
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. Again, my name is Jamie Aller. I work for Eberhardt Stevenson Funeral Home. Many of you probably know Andy and Troy. I've been working in funeral service for about 14 years now, and it's really an honor to have helped so many families over the years make this a little bit easier process. So we're pleased to be able to offer this technology to you as well. While I miss the opportunity to see everybody in person, I am thankful to have the ability to help you and help everyone stay safe at home as well. So we're here to talk today about something that will affect every single person, yet it's something most people have some difficulty discussing. It's so important to address this and prepare for it, not only for you, but for your loved ones too. And the fact that you're here today is a great first step and the chance to learn about this. So kudos to you for jumping on this morning and taking the time. So when we consider the significant events in our lives that we plan and prepare for, things like getting married, having children, having grandchildren, education, retirement. We rarely just let these things happen without thoughtful planning. And just like other major life events, funerals require planning too. An estimated 34% of people over the age 50 have planned a funeral for themselves and or someone else. We do see those numbers growing each year as consumers become more aware that this can and should be done ahead of time. Most people, about 90% in a recent survey, agree that pre-planning is a great idea. So really the question is not why should I pre-plan, but why wouldn't I pre-plan? The key reasons that families share with us for why they think pre-planning is a good idea. First, to lift the burden for loved ones, both emotionally and financially. The second reason is to ensure that things go the way you want them to. And finally, for peace of mind, knowing that you've done all you can for those that you care about. So people often ask, how much does a funeral cost these days? And while the National Funeral Directors Association tells us the average cost is about $7,000, this does not take into account what we refer to as cash advance items or a burial vault. So cash advance items are those things that contribute to the overall funeral cost, but those prices aren't set by a funeral home. Some of these things would be cemetery costs, like the cost of the grave space. There's a charge to open and close the grave. Headstone is a separate item, as well as the obituary notices in the newspaper. Things like family flower pieces, honorariums, and death certificates are some of those cash advance items. So a simple cremation may start around $3,500 or so. but a full traditional burial service could reach close to 20,000 when you consider everything included with that. Funeral costs typically are increasing faster than the cost of living. They say 4 to 5% on average for planning per year. Those are, again, that's 4 to 5% per year increases. That means today's prices could be double in about 14 years. I don't know about you, but 14 years has gone by pretty quickly. That was 2006. Doesn't even seem possible. So when you're considering what type of service will work best for you and your loved ones, we'll discuss some of the basic options. And it's important to know that there's really no rules or one size fits all, which actually makes it even more important that you contribute to the plan and think things through ahead of time. So when we use the term funeral, this typically refers to a formal service, usually based on religious or cultural traditions. The body is present in most cases, and because the body is present, funerals generally take place within a few days following death, before burial or cremation. A funeral can take place at a church, at the graveside, at a funeral home, or even at someone's home. And while a memorial service is typically held without the body present, it can be scheduled days, weeks, or even months after the death occurs, allowing time for family and friends to gather. In fact, as some of you may have heard about recently during this pandemic, many families have opted to delay services as they're currently being limited to just 10 people at a time. A memorial service can be elaborate or simple and may be held anywhere, at home, in a park, graveside, in a church, or at a funeral home. And if you're looking for some unique ideas, I encourage you to take advantage of the free personal session that will be offered at the end of the presentation today. So one of my favorite ideas for a memorial service was for a self-described sweet tooth whose service was an ice cream social, complete with a sign that said, "Life is short, eat dessert first." So some additional options to personalize a service might include military honors for veterans, a butterfly or dove release, photo displays or a video tribute, raising funds for a favorite charitable organization, hosting a meal or reception at a favorite gathering place, or even just serving a favorite food item. I remember working with a couple recently who pre-planned for their favorite bakery to provide lefse for the meal gathering, which was a favorite family tradition of theirs. So really just a little bit of brainstorming can result in a great idea to make your event special and personalized. And we're here to help with this. And it's important to note that some of those good ideas are important to discuss ahead of time. They aren't always things that we can think of when we're grieving and overwhelmed with the loss. So when considering a service or gathering, it is important to remember this is a gift for the people who will need to grieve that loss and honor your life. I hear people say, oftentimes, "I don't want a funeral," which is usually code for "don't make a fuss about me." That, of course, is human nature, but it's important to remember that it's also a basic human need for the living to honor loved ones who go before us. And when we lose someone we care about, ceremony is an important component of the healing process and a way to reconcile the loss. And it's important to remember that funerals really are for the living. We do also have the option for those who wish to plan a very basic direct burial or cremation. Just know that anything you plan ahead of time will provide that much needed direction for the time of need. And you can always add to or change your arrangements at any time. So if you are choosing burial, you can pre-select a casket. Traditional cemeteries in our area require a grave liner or a burial vault, which can also be pre-selected. And finally, you would want to consider your clothing and jewelry for a viewing. If you're choosing cremation and would like your cremated remains to be given to a family member, you might select an urn or other container. Other options might include a decorative ceramic piece or having ashes transformed into natural stones. You could even have the cremated remains incorporated into a coral reef or a gemstone. They really have come up with all kinds of personalized options for cremation. So once you have an idea of what type of arrangements would be best to accommodate you and your family's needs, a cost estimate can be provided for you. And then that information will be important when considering your funding options. An important question to ask is, if something happened to you tomorrow, how would your funeral expenses be paid for? For some people, personal savings might be their first thought, but for long-term planning, the potential for encountering expensive long-term healthcare costs does pose a risk to your savings. In addition, a surviving spouse might need to rely on those savings to supplement their lost income. When we rely on other family members or friends to pay for funeral expenses, there's always the risk they might overspend emotionally. And many people aren't aware that oftentimes when death occurs, assets passed to the kids are frozen during probate, which can mean family is left to cover the bill before your funds are accessible, sometimes for many months. Borrowing from family and friends might be an option, but asking for help can carry a heavy emotional toll. And finally, a credit card or loan might be an option, but there are interest charges to consider. Most people don't want to leave this world leaving a debt for someone else to worry about. So another thought you might have is that you have life insurance, and life insurance is a great tool. It's a wonderful option for passing a tax-free gift to your survivors. It allows loved ones to maintain their standard of living after a death. Funeral expenses are generally due at the time of arrangements, and life insurance generally takes weeks to process if all goes well. That sometimes can leave family to cover those expenses out of pocket until their claim is settled. By the way, in cases where a death certificate is delayed, this also delays the timing of the funds. In cases of accidental death or autopsy investigation, it's common to see weeks or even months of delay in receiving those death certificates. Also, for long-term planning, life insurance with cash value is considered an available asset for long-term care. In other words, just like your other savings, most policies are not protected from creditors like the nursing home. Fortunately, there is an alternative to allow you to avoid the pitfalls that I just mentioned. You can choose to arrange payment in advance with an irrevocable funeral trust designed just for the payment of funeral expenses. Once you've pre-planned your funeral needs, you purchase a policy for the amount needed. When the time comes, your funeral provider will ensure that your wishes are carried out, providing the products and services that you've pre-selected with no additional work for your loved ones. Your family will never have to call an insurance company to start a claim or worry about juggling funds. It's all taken care of. This is a smart financial decision for several reasons. First, you can secure prices, and as mentioned earlier, funeral and cremation costs are estimated to double every 14 years or so. You're giving yourself the freedom to make customized payments on your terms. You can pay in one lump sum or monthly, quarterly, semi-annual, or annual installments over several years. When a funeral is not funded ahead of time, the full amount is due and payable in just a few days. Funding your arrangements ahead of time relieves a huge burden from your loved ones, as the costs are immediately paid at the time of death with no interaction required on their behalf. The funeral home files the claim and receives payment directly. And if there's any unused funds, they are returned to your estate. No one knows what lies ahead, and if medical issues require long-term care, your funeral policy, which is held in an irrevocable burial trust, remains protected no matter what. Peace of mind to not have to worry about how your family will cope with all the decisions that have to be made quickly at the time of death. You're getting everything in order for them. Planning ahead is a gift for those you will leave behind. As I'm sure nearly everyone here can attest, when someone we love dies, emotions are raw and tensions exist even in the best relationships. The potential for disagreement is far less when key details are mapped out for your family and paid for. They'll be able to focus on their healing process and be confident knowing that they're following your wishes. And you can achieve peace of mind knowing that you've done all you can to make a tough transitional period a little easier for them. We guide you through a 3-step process. So where do you begin? Well, hopefully you'll be inspired today to take action, and we'd like to offer you an opportunity to put some of these things you've learned today to work for you and your family. There will be an email sent after conclusion today of our meeting, and you will see a link that allows you to register for a free gift card. It's our way of saying thank you for your time and attention today. You'll see here how you will fill in your information, just your basic information and address, and we'll be able to send that to you. You'll get that in the mail in about 3 to 5 business days. Also in that same email, if you'd like, there's a calendar with my picture, and we're offering for your convenience at home the ability to consult over a Zoom meeting. Even though you can't see, or we can't see you today, a Zoom meeting will allow us to talk face to face. And the nice thing about this technology is that if you have some family members who maybe live out of the area, even if they don't, at this point, everyone's staying home for safety reasons, we can invite as many family members as you'd like to be part of this conversation. So again, don't forget to pick a date on the calendar, date and time for your consultation. It takes about 1 hour, and a lot of customers tell me it's an easy and pleasant experience. We really want to make this simplified for you. So I look forward to helping you and anyone else that you'd like to share this with. I just want to leave you all with a thought from a customer of mine who said, I never wanted to plan my funeral, or anyone else's for that matter. But I figure if we all just planned our own, it would be the only one we'd ever have to plan, and that sure would be a whole lot easier for everyone. I think those are very wise words, and I think what you'll find is once this is planned and put behind you, you can live the rest of your life freer and worry less, a little bit less, and we could all use that in uncertain times like these. So I want to thank you again for your time and attention, and if any questions have come in, we'll go ahead and address those. Andy, do we have any questions?
One of the questions that's come up, Jamie, is what happens if the funeral home would ever go out of business or the client would move?
Okay, so that's a great question. One of the reasons I think people maybe procrastinate, as if we need many reasons to procrastinate in our lives, but that might be one of the reasons that people hold back on planning. And the reality is that these plans, even when they're funded, are completely portable. So if you should move out of the area, you simply take it and transfer it to a different funeral home of your choice. If a funeral home goes out of business, the same thing. You own the plan and you can direct it to another funeral provider. So it's a great way to get that peace of mind and not have to worry about some of those items. Any other thoughts or questions?
That was the only questions that were brought up.
Okay, so, well, I just want to thank you all again, and we encourage you to take advantage of the opportunity to get your plans in order. We'll be sending out that email shortly, and thank you again. Everybody stay safe.
Thank you all. And as Jamie mentioned, you'll receive your email here very shortly. If you do have any questions, please feel free to visit Jamie's website and contact her with those questions. Thank you and enjoy your day.